Hey.
Hello, Mr. Jeffrey.
Hello, how are you?
Fine, it's okay. Thank you.
Good to see you.
Thank you.
Good to see you. Welcome.
Good to see you. Thank you very much, sir.
Welcome to Cape Coast Coffee House.
Oh, thank you very much.
Yes.
Yeah. So we are at the Cape Coast Coffee House. Wow. So I am meeting Mr. Jeffrey, an African American, and I want to get to know one or two things from him. He's a great Pan-Africanist. He has his own ideas about Pan-Africanism. And I would like to know, Mr. Jeffrey, you're from which state in the U.S.?
I'm from California.
All right.
I'm from Oakland, California, the home of the Black Panther Party. Oakland is located right near San Francisco, California.
Okay, sir. Thank you. So, we are seeing a lot of African Americans like you
Yes.
in Africa and in Ghana especially.
Yes.
Ghana, Gambia is becoming a trend.
Yes.
So what are you thinking about that? What is prompting Africans in America coming back?
We come back for many different reasons. And some of the things that have brought me to Africa, we say back to Africa, even though we are new to Africa. But it's kind of like the call of the ancestors. We have always known that our ancestors came from, many of them from West Africa.
All right.
And but it's also been true that until this generation, until this present generation, it was not possible for us to travel back to Africa, to reclaim our heritage, to reclaim our history, to reclaim our culture. Part of that is because we lost the knowledge of those things due to the slave trade, due to the nature of life for us during the slave trade. We lost all knowledge of who we were culturally and historically. But still, Africa has always called out to me. It's called out to me because I was a reader. I was an explorer. I was somebody who was interested in where did I come from? Where did we come from? And so Africa has called out to me, and I've just wanted to reconnect with those roots, reconnect with those cultural aspects that I've lost. And it's interesting because one of the things that I've learned very, very well since I've been here is that, culturally we lost a lot. I don't speak an African language. I don't know the culture of the community that I'm living in. I'm learning slowly, but because of the language barrier, it's not a very fast process. I'm not, discovering and recovering as quickly as I would like to sometimes. But it's happening.
All right.
And I'm very, very happy to be here. So specifically, I chose Ghana because I had friends in the U.S., friends that have been my friends for 30, 40 years who lived in California, who lived in Oakland, California.
Okay.
And because they eventually moved back to Ghana, I was invited, I was welcome to come to visit Ghana.
Okay.
And after visiting Ghana several times over the years, my wife and I met here in Cape Coast.
Okay.
I got married in Ghana and made
She's
the
Ghanaian.
decision. She's a Ghanaian.
All right. Okay.
Made the decision to move to Ghana, live in Ghana. We have this business in Ghana, this coffee house, this restaurant, where we are serving both Ghanaian food dishes and international food dishes. And we are also selling coffee.
All right.
This coffee is actually grown in Ghana.
Oh, Kawa Mocha.
Kawa Mocha is the brand. It's grown in Ghana, the Volta region of Ghana. And Ghana is not known throughout the world for being a coffee growing country. But over the last several years, 5 years or so, Ghanaian coffee is now becoming more well known and beginning to compete with many of those coffees that come from East Africa.
Okay. Oh, that's fascinating to hear, sir.
Yes,
that's fascinating to hear, sir. So what have been your challenges as you talked about the language barrier.
Yes.
So what do you think about the economic situation, and other things? What have you seen that is not positive for you? Some of the things that is challenging.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes. I don't know where to start, but I guess I can start
Start from anywhere.
with just saying that many of the challenges that are difficult for me are coming from the place of life in Africa is very different from the life that I come from in the U.S. So I'm not saying necessarily that it's better or that it's worse. It's different.
It's different.
It would be different if I was in China. It would
Yes.
be different if I was in South America. It's different. It's different. And because of some of the differences, there are things that can be very, very challenging. One of the things that is difficult is that for me as a foreigner,
Yes.
it's not really possible for me to find a job here. And so, in order to live here, we would like to be able to generate an income.
Yeah.
And so, for many of us who are coming from outside of Africa, many of us are coming from a place of having worked on jobs all our lives.
Yes.
And we cannot just transfer those skills to jobs here because jobs here are going to Ghanaians before they are going
Yes.
to foreigners.
Yes.
And so it's not possible. So many of us, even though we don't have a business background, we are kind of going in the direction of starting our own businesses here.
Yeah.
Some of us are starting businesses online.
Okay.
Some of us are starting businesses on the ground, shops, products.
Yes.
Some of us are selling import, export kind of things,
yes.
or especially export
Export.
back to the countries that are our homes.
Yes.
So work and generating an income is a very, very challenging thing for many of us. Actually, many of us who are coming back to Africa to live, African Americans, we are retired.
All right.
There's probably more retired people moving back than any other single group of people in our demographic.
Yeah.
Whereas with some of the other groups of people who come over, they are coming with large companies. They are coming with mining companies. They are coming with companies that are, producing products here.
Yes.
And so they are sending younger people over and they are employing them and they are establishing themselves at a younger age. But the African American, the diasporans,
Yes.
many of us are older people coming back, living on our retirement income. And so that retirement income makes it possible for many of us to stay
Yeah.
and many of us to live and be quite comfortable. But for younger people, it's very challenging. They come, they try. Many of them have to return home because it's not possible for them to generate an income here.
Yeah.
That's a challenge. Culturally, language is a barrier. I live in Cape Coast here, and the language that is spoken here is the language called Fanti.
Fanti. Yeah.
And I don't speak Fanti, but I'm slowly learning Fanti. It's a slow process for me, probably because I'm older. I've lost some of my enthusiasm for learning a new language. So the language barrier is pretty significant also. Culturally, things are just very, very different. Many of us believe that because we are black people,
Yes.
that we therefore will have so many things in common with Africans. Well, it's not always true.
Yes.
It's not always true. Having the same color skin does not make you any more African than a Chinese person would be like a Japanese person just because they are both from Asia. It just doesn't work like that. And many of us don't discover that until we come here. And we come here and we find out that we are very different from African people, indigenous African people.
Okay. Yeah. But do you think with time, with the continuous influx of Black Americans, African Americans, I don't like using the word black, African Americans, there will come a time when there will be kind of a symbiotic relationship. That is, there will be an immersion of Black Americans with
No,
time.
no, I don't think so.
Okay,
I don't think so. Now, my wife and I have a daughter,
all
and
right,
I think my daughter will fit in just fine.
all right.
But my experience, even in the United States, is that the first generation of immigrants often never really make it into the culture of the country that they have moved into.
Yeah,
First
yes,
generation Germans who come to America, first generation Mexicans who come to America,
yes.
first generation Chinese people. That first generation often never learned English. They often
You're right.
never learn how to really get around. They often are never able to be employed in a typical American business because that first generation often does not really make it all the way into the, but their children do. So I would not be surprised if, well, let me say something else. Many of the African Americans who come here, in my observation, separate themselves from local people from the very beginning.
Oh Lord.
They
Okay.
establish their own residences in their own villages, so to speak,
Mm.
and they set up their own economic systems in some cases that are very, very different, very, very separate often than the indigenous groups of people
Yeah.
are living in. There are, many of us do not want to live in some of the ways that people live here. We don't understand them. To many of us, many people are living at a standard of living that we will not tolerate.
Good.
And many people speak about it openly.
Mm.
So, to answer your question more directly, I mean, I think it's definitely possible that there, and I cannot say that there's not a symbiosis at all because that's not possible either. Of course, we are mixing in many, many ways with local people, but we are also remaining separate at the same time.
Sometime.
Many of us are.
All right.
Many of us, in our businesses, our small businesses, we employ local people. Many of us adopt local rituals when we do things like get married, when we do things like have funerals. We often do it in a mixture of the ways that we learn in our home country, mixed with how we have learned that Ghanaians do such things as weddings and funerals. But still, if we are not part of the work life, if we are not part of the economic life of the country, I think it really, to me, limits how much we can truly, truly step in and say that we are part of life in this country.
Well, because I heard some Black Americans say that it's important for Black Americans to bring in dollars into Africa and also establish Black businesses in Africa. How do you think that can influence if Black Americans, African Americans, that I hate the term Black Americans, African Americans, you know, come back and invest in Africa? How would that look like?
And, well, I think it's good. I think it's good. I mean, the Chinese are coming in and investing. The Russians come in and invest. White Americans come in and invest. I mean, I think investment itself is good.
Yes.
There are, for me, and I'm sometimes kind of different on this, but skin color is just not always as important to me as it is to many people.
Yeah.
You know, I say if you have something good to offer and you can offer it in a good way, often for me, it doesn't matter so much what your skin color is. You know, I don't think Africa has ever been all black since the beginning of time. As long as there's been a history recorded in Africa, there have been people coming into Africa for different reasons, in different ways, to do different things. And even though many of us have this dream of Africa is only for black people, it's just not been my historical experience as a reader and as a studier of historical things it's just not a practical way for me to think that life will be, because it's never been that way. And I don't know that isolating ourselves just by skin color
Mm.
is always the most practical and desirable way to go. So I don't necessarily support, making so many decisions just based on skin color. Skin color, I say let's learn the culture. And I'm really going to facilitate my daughter being part of the culture of the country that she was born in.
Oh, that's good to
You
hear.
know,
That's good to hear.
but I see people, Americans, many of us struggle. You know, many people who come here, a favorite sport in this place is let's get together. It's not even a conscious thing, and complain about Ghana, complain about Ghanaians.
Mhm.
And it's not just something that people do here. I've lived in many different countries, and it's what people do. In America, people from New York love to sit around and complain about Californians, those who live there.
Yes.
When I was living in Thailand, Americans would love to sit around and complain about all the things about Thailand that they did not like, that weren't working out for them, that they didn't understand, that they thought were hurting them or holding them back. So it's like, I just don't think it's really possible for everyone to always completely, immerse themselves
Yeah.
in a new culture. And African culture to me is about as different from American culture in many ways as you can get.
Okay.
You know, even though we all also know that there's many things about the culture that did survive the slave trade.
Yeah.
There are many things about Black American culture that are still, very, very much African in their roots. But we were born in America, we were born in Brazil, we were born in Jamaica, and we bring that. And personally, America for me, and this hurts many people when I say it, but America is part of who I am. And I can like it or not like it, but I don't believe I can change it. I don't believe I can change it. Therefore, I embrace it. I welcome it. I use it. You know, people say to me, "Oh, you are Ghanaian now." No, I'm not Ghanaian now. I'm not Ghanaian. I'm not Ghanaian. I'm American.
Mhm.
I'm American. You know, I don't speak your language. I don't know your culture. I'm living in your country. Nationality to me, I'm an American. That's my nationality. I can change my nationality. I can become a Ghanaian citizen tomorrow. And then the next day I can go and become a Nigerian citizen. So nationality can be changed. But that part of me that I am from who I have been since I was born, that is not so easily changed.
Yeah.
And I will not deny that part of myself either in order to embrace another culture that I know I don't even fully understand.
Okay. You told me at the beginning. You said you were in Benin at
Yes.
Ouida for the Voodoo Festival, and it's surprising. I was also there. I did a documentary.
Yes.
So why do you go to Ouida in Benin for the Voodoo Festival, the yearly Voodoo Festival?
Yes. 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 I heard about it. One of the things that I've learned is that the slave trade and the period of colonization.
Yeah.
One of the things that I believe we lost in America, and I believe was also partly lost in Africa, is the open practice of the spiritual traditions of Africa. And Benin is a place where African spiritual traditions are openly practiced.
Mhm.
Now, here in Ghana, I learn more and more every day that African spiritual traditions are also practiced in Ghana, but it's not so open. It's not so approved.
Yeah,
It's not so welcomed.
that is it.
It's not
And it's
nationalized.
the influence of the the Christian, the
The
Christian
Christian influence is
influence
very, very
strong. Yes.
But Ghanaians still rely very, very heavily, I'm learning, on their indigenous, their traditional spiritual traditions. They rely on them very, very heavily. However, often they are used to protect themselves.
Yes.
They are often used to attack other people. They are
So that's so
often
sad.
But I don't often hear them being and see them being used in ways that affirm life, that
Yeah, celebrate life.
that talk about the
Yes,
beauty of
yes,
life.
yes, yes. It's always like in Africa we use the what they call black magic.
The black
Black magic
thing.
is used
Hey.
instead
Oh,
to
oh, oh, wait, wait. Just put your head over here for a minute for this interview. This is my brother,
okay.
Kwame Nitoto.
Oh,
He's also
okay.
from Oakland, California. We
Ah.
came over together.
Okay, okay.
Yes,
Thank you, man.
yes,
Thank
yes.
you.
My senior brother, Jeff.
Wow, good.
Yeah, he's
good.
my senior brother.
Thank you
Yes,
very
yes.
much. He's giving you some vibes, Yeah, thank you. All right.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank
Mhm.
you.
Yeah. So, so as I was saying, the we see in Africa, black magic is used for diabolic purposes, and I don't understand
Yes.
why. Why are we not using it to build bridges, to build? I mean, to develop Africa. Why is it so difficult for Africans,
Yes. Yes.
to use the supernatural powers
Yes.
to do great things in Africa?
Yes.
I mean, you'll find people who are so poor,
Yes.
they just can't reason. They just can't use these powers they have
Yes.
to transform their lives. I don't get it. I've never understood that.
Well, there's an example
Yes.
in the histories of many other countries that were colonized.
Yes.
The Indians were colonized, but they are still Hindu.
Hindu.
Many of the countries in North Africa were colonized, but they are still Muslim. China was colonized, but they are still traditionally Chinese. They did
Chinese.
not adopt Christianity on a large scale. But in Africa, Christianity rules, at least on the surface. But when you go down below the surface, you find that many of the traditional practices are still alive,
Yes.
but they are not necessarily brought up to the level of belief and knowledge,
And knowledge. Okay.
where they find that they can be supported. Christianity, you see it at the highest levels of culture in Christian countries, and the same in Islamic countries, and the
Yes.
same in Buddhist and Hindu countries. But in Africa, for me to, and for you to, and for us to stand up and praise, African traditional religions. First of all, people would say, why, why are you praising that stuff? Why are you praising that stuff? When people are using it to kill.
Yes.
And for me,
It's sad.
I say to people, when they are using these practices to kill, that's not spirituality, that's murder.
That's murder.
That's murder. The minute you put your hands on somebody, whatever you call it, it is murder.
And I don't know when I went to Ouida for the Voodoo Festival, I was surprised to hear that when you get into the temple,
Yes.
you can't mention somebody's name in a bad way. You can't wish something bad for your enemy or for anybody, And I found
beautiful.
that's beautiful.
That's beautiful.
And I found it. I wanted to bring that to life, but I saw a lot of people were like, against me. Say voodoo. It's strange that the level of mental slavery we are into.
Emancipate yourself
From mental slavery.
Yes, yes,
It's
yes.
good.
It's true.
It was.
And see, the thing is, what you believe. I mean, I'm a very spiritual person. And what you believe spiritually to your core, it influences everything else that you do
Yes.
in life. It influences how you trust people.
Yes.
It influences how you trust nature.
Nature.
It influences how you trust the universe to support you.
Yes.
It influences how you structure your society in
Yes.
ways that are meant to support you and not. So you find in countries like Ghana, it's not just the spiritual systems that are not always being supportive of
Yes.
people,
Yes. Yes.
but it goes into the economic systems. And the
Yes.
economic systems are often structured to benefit people outside of Ghana and
Yes.
outside of Africa.
Yes.
The political system is often set up in ways that are much more supportive of those who come into Africa to do business than they are to support. People here wonder, why aren't the potholes getting fixed? Why isn't the poverty being addressed? Why aren't our leaders responding to us in our educational systems in ways in which our children can benefit at the same level as people in China, in America, in
Yeah.
UK? And so it all goes together. But if you are not grounded spiritually, it's hard for you to see the importance and also to see a way to structure the rest of your society in ways that are benefiting you totally. World War II, many people don't know why the Japanese attacked the Americans and started the part of World War II between the Japanese and it's because they had a belief that what the Americans were over there trying to colonize, and their thing was Asia is for the Asians first.
First.
It's not that you cannot participate, but it's got to be for the Asians first. That's still an issue in Asia, but they continue to believe in that. And I don't see that in Africa. It's not Africa first. It's let me, and again, I'm an outsider, but it seems to me that very, very often it's let me make money from people first for myself, and we are not so concerned about whether or not it benefits the entire society.
So, what is your last message to Africans? What would you like to tell Africans?
Um, well, okay. My last message to Africans is my message of hope, because everything that I've said so far, I also see among young people this consciousness that is growing, this consciousness and this awareness of exactly where Africa is in the world today. And we are seeing, and they are seeing more and more clearly exactly what is happening on a global scale, what is happening on a local scale. And young people are now beginning to step forward as we move further and further away from colonialism. And they are saying, let us, choose leadership that carries us in a direction that benefits us as countries, as communities, as villages, as an international community of African countries. Let us grow in ways that take us into an equal standing. When we talk about spirituality, when we talk about economic systems, when we talk about political systems, when we talk about religious systems, uh, many of these things are in other countries respected globally. And Africans are now stepping into demanding respect. You can see it in the music, in the Afrobeat music.
Oh,
you
yeah,
can
yeah,
hear
yeah.
it in the
Yeah,
songs.
yeah.
That African people are standing up saying that, we want to a seat at the table as equals.
Amen.
And
Amen.
in my opinion, it has not happened yet.
Yeah.
Africans are not sitting at the table as equals in the United Nations. Africans are not sitting at the table as equals in the global economic systems.
Yes.
We are still being, I don't want to say victimized, but we are still being used in ways in which we are not being treated as equal partners. And just to remember some of the teachings that I learned when I was in the Nation of Islam in the U.S., nobody's going to do it. Ghana, one of the most popular things that people say is, our leaders will not do this, our leaders will not do that. But you see the rest of the world much of the leadership is being changed because at the ground level where the people are demanding change. They're not waiting always for the leadership. The
Yeah.
people are putting leaders out of power.
Amen.
You know, it's happening in some of the francophone countries.
Yes.
Telling leaders, if
Mali,
yes,
Mali, Burkina Faso,
yes,
yeah,
yes,
Niger,
yes.
yes, yes.
So, you know, even though leadership is very, very important, I feel like in Ghana, the normal everyday people do not always feel empowered enough to demand and to effect the kind of changes that people would like to see in this country and in countries like this. So, my final message is a message of encouragement to people who are young
Thank you.
and coming into power
Yes.
to continue going in the direction that we were going as we move out of colonialism and into, you know, seats of power in the world.
Thank you, Mr. Jeffrey.
Thank
Thank you
you.
so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank you.
That was nice.